When I was pregnant, one day during grocery shopping, I suddenly fainted and collapsed on the floor. Strangers rushed me to the hospital in an emergency. When I called my husband, hoping for support, his voice roared through the phone. "What kind of drama is this now? You're always fainting. I can't stand this anymore. I'm coming to get you." I was stunned into silence. But when he stormed into the hospital moments later, what happened next was far worse than I could have ever imagined. My name is Clara, and I'm 28 years old. My life took a dramatic turn during what should have been the happiest time, preparing to welcome my first child. But things rarely go as planned, and for me, the shift from joy to despair happened faster than I could have imagined. It all began with a single phone call that shattered the little stability I had left. It was a chilly morning in Portland. I lay in a hospital bed, exhausted and drained, the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor echoing in the background. Just the day before, I had collapsed in a grocery store, overwhelmed by the weight of everything on my shoulders. All I could think about was protecting my baby, but even as I focused on staying calm, my phone rang, breaking through the silence. I glanced at the screen and saw Ethan's name. My heart sank as I hesitated before answering, hoping, praying for some comfort from him. Instead, his voice was sharp and filled with frustration. "Where are you, Clara? Why is it that you always collapse when I need you the most?" His words cut through me like a knife. I stammered, trying to explain. "Ethan, I'm in the hospital. I passed out from stress. The doctors want to keep me here for a few days to make sure everything's okay with the baby." His response left me frozen. "Oh, great. So while you're out relaxing in the hospital, I'm here starving because of your awful cooking? I've had enough of this. I'm going out to eat with my parents. Figure out how to get home on your own." I ended the call with trembling hands, tears streaming down my face. His coldness and indifference left me feeling utterly isolated. How did it come to this? I wasn't just fighting for my own well-being, but for the little life growing inside me, who was now being exposed to so much negativity. The ache in my chest was unbearable, and I clung to the faint hope that things might somehow improve. Little did I know, that hope would lead me to make the toughest decisions of my life. Before my life unraveled, things had seemed almost perfect. I was thriving as a marketing executive, a job I loved and worked hard to excel in. Each day brought new challenges, and I took pride in my ability to solve them. My colleagues respected me, my clients appreciated me, and my career gave me a sense of independence that I cherished. Then Ethan came into my life like a whirlwind. At 32, he was charming, ambitious, and full of promises about the future we could build together. Our romance felt like something out of a dream, and before I knew it, we were married. The early days of our marriage were blissful. We dreamed of a home filled with laughter, love, and the pitter-patter of little feet. When I found out I was pregnant, it felt like the start of a beautiful chapter. Ethan was excited at first. His enthusiasm was contagious. But as the months went by, his interest began to fade. My doctor advised me to leave my job early in the pregnancy due to complications, and though the decision broke my heart, I made it for the sake of my child. I thought Ethan would be supportive, but it was as if a switch flipped. The man who once doted on me turned into someone I barely recognized. Small inconveniences became major grievances, and I found myself on the receiving end of his sharp words more often than I could count. As my pregnancy progressed, life at home became increasingly unbearable. Ethan's frustrations seemed to grow by the day. Tasks that once felt routine, cooking, cleaning, and organizing, now felt insurmountable. My body was exhausted, and every movement was a struggle, but Ethan didn't seem to care. He would complain about everything: the way I cooked, how the laundry was folded, or that the house wasn't spotless enough. His words, once filled with love and encouragement, now dripped with irritation and disdain. Adding to the chaos were Ethan's parents, Megan and Tom. They visited often and never missed an opportunity to criticize me. According to them, I wasn't doing enough as a wife, let alone as a soon-to-be mother. Their demands were endless, preparing elaborate meals on short notice, entertaining them even when I could barely keep my eyes open, and pretending I didn't hear their thinly veiled insults. I tried to keep my head above water, reminding myself that it was all for the baby, but the weight of their criticism was suffocating. Every day, I felt myself sinking deeper into despair, and Ethan was no lifeline. He was part of the problem. One afternoon, I had just returned from grocery shopping, my body aching from the effort. Megan and Tom had been over earlier, leaving the kitchen in complete disarray after lunch. As I started cleaning up, my legs suddenly gave out. The room spun, and the next thing I knew, I was staring at the ceiling of a grocery store, surrounded by strangers. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. The sterile white walls and the rhythmic beeping of monitors were disorienting, but the sharp concern in the doctor's eyes snapped me back to reality. "Clara," she said gently, "you collapsed from exhaustion. Your body is under significant stress, and it's taking a toll on both you and your baby. We'll need to monitor you for a few days to ensure everything stabilizes." Her words struck me harder than I expected. My body was giving up on me because of everything I had been pushing through. Ethan's criticism, his parents' incessant judgment, and the weight of trying to keep it all together. But the only thing that mattered now was my baby. I picked up my phone to call Ethan. Despite everything, I hoped he would show some concern. The phone rang, and I braced myself. When he answered, his voice was cold, tinged with annoyance. "You collapsed," he said flatly. "And I'm supposed to care? Why didn't you answer my calls earlier? You're so slow." "Ethan, I'm in the hospital," I said, my voice trembling. "The doctors are monitoring me. I passed out from stress." His response was heartless. "So while you're lounging in the hospital, I'm stuck here dealing with everything. Forget it. I'm going out to eat with my parents. Figure out how to get home on your own." The line went dead, and I sat there stunned. My hands shook as I placed the phone down, tears streaming down my face. I wasn't just alone in the hospital. I was alone in this marriage. For the first time, I truly felt the weight of what I was up against. The thought of my baby growing up in this environment terrified me. I clung to the hope that something, anything, would change. But deep down, I knew I couldn't rely on Ethan anymore. The days in the hospital passed slowly, filled with anxiety and exhaustion. The doctors kept a close watch on me, and I tried to focus on my baby's health, but Ethan didn't visit once. The silence from him was deafening, a confirmation of how far apart we had grown. One afternoon, as I lay staring at the ceiling, my phone buzzed. The name on the screen surprised me, Maya. She had been a loyal customer at the coffee shop I managed before I left my job. We had grown close, but after I left work, we'd lost touch. "Hi, Clara. I heard what's been going on, and I wanted to check in on you," Maya said, her voice warm and genuine. Hearing her kindness brought tears to my eyes. "It's been hard," I admitted, my voice breaking. "Ethan and his parents, they've made everything unbearable. I don't know what to do anymore." Maya listened patiently, then said something that left me speechless. "Clara, I have a vacant apartment in Bend. It's quiet, safe, and rent-free for now. I think it's exactly what you need. You can stay there until you get back on your feet." For a moment, I couldn't respond. Relief and gratitude washed over me in waves. "Maya, I don't know what to say. Thank you. I didn't even know you knew what I was going through." "You've always been kind to me, Clara," she replied softly. "It's the least I can do. Let's make a plan to get you out of there." That call was a lifeline I hadn't expected. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. As I hung up, I began to imagine a life away from the suffocating criticism and constant tension. My baby and I deserved a fresh start. Once I was discharged from the hospital, I wasted no time making arrangements to leave. Maya and I coordinated the details of the move, and a few of my old friends from work offered to help. Packing up my essentials felt surreal, like I was shedding the weight of my old life with every box I sealed. Ethan didn't seem to notice or care. He was preoccupied with his own life, spending most of his time with his parents. I doubted he even realized how serious I was about leaving. As I packed, I found myself reflecting on how things had come to this. The love I had for Ethan was overshadowed by his coldness, and every moment spent in that house only deepened my resolve to leave. When the day of the move finally came, I felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Maya's apartment in Bend was everything she had promised: peaceful, cozy, and safe. It was a modest space in a quiet neighborhood, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. As I settled in, I began to think about the future. I had a long road ahead, healing from the emotional wounds Ethan had inflicted, protecting my baby from his toxic influence, and figuring out how to rebuild my life. But for now, I allowed myself to savor the relief of being out of that suffocating environment. Not long after moving in, I met Maya's daughter, Olivia. She worked as an HR manager and had crossed paths with Ethan at his job. Over coffee one afternoon, Olivia shared a story that both shocked and comforted me. "I wanted to tell you something, Clara," Olivia began, her tone serious but kind. "I've seen how Ethan behaves at work. It's not just you. He's been inappropriate and unprofessional with people in the office. I reported him a few months ago, which led to his demotion." I was stunned. "I had no idea," I said, gripping my coffee cup. "That explains why he's been so angry lately." Olivia nodded. "I've also heard things from his colleagues about how dismissive he is of you. It's unacceptable. I wanted to let you know that you're not alone in this." Her words were a balm to my soul. For so long, I had felt isolated, but here was someone who not only understood my situation, but had also taken steps to hold Ethan accountable. Olivia's support gave me a newfound sense of strength. "I don't know how to thank you," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "You don't have to thank me," she replied. "You just focus on taking care of yourself and that baby. If you ever need anything, I'm here." Her kindness and willingness to stand by me became a turning point. For the first time in a long while, I felt less alone. As I began to adjust to my new life in Bend, the shadows of my past still loomed large. Ethan's absence in my life was a relief, but his presence lingered in other ways. He began calling and messaging me relentlessly, alternating between anger and regret. Some days, he would berate me for leaving, accusing me of abandoning our family. Other days, he would beg for forgiveness, promising to change. I ignored his calls, but his persistence was unsettling. Just as I started to find some peace, another storm brewed on the horizon. Olivia called me one afternoon, her tone serious. "Clara, I hate to bring this up, but your father-in-law, Tom, has been stirring up trouble. He's claiming that your baby should be the family heir and is putting pressure on the lawyers to involve him in decisions about your child's future." The blood drained from my face. What does he mean by family heir? This is my child, not a trophy to fulfill some outdated family tradition. "I know," Olivia said calmly. "But he's been making legal threats, saying it's about preserving the family's legacy. I wanted you to know so you can prepare." I thanked her for the warning and immediately called my lawyer. The idea of Ethan's father trying to stake a claim over my baby was infuriating. My lawyer reassured me that I had strong legal rights and advised me to remain firm. But the stress was mounting, and I could feel its toll on me. A few days later, Ethan showed up at my apartment unannounced. I'd opened the door to find him standing there, disheveled and visibly tense. "We need to talk, Clara," he said, his voice teetering between desperation and anger. I crossed my arms, blocking the doorway. "There's nothing left to say, Ethan. You made your choices, and I've made mine." "I know I messed up," he admitted, his eyes pleading. "But I want to fix this. I want to be a part of our baby's life." His words felt hollow after all the pain he had caused. "Ethan, it's too late. You've hurt me in ways I can't forget. My priority now is my baby, and I'm moving forward without you." His shoulders slumped, and for a moment, I thought he might argue. Instead, he nodded reluctantly. "I hope you know what you're doing." As he walked away, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. This was the closure I needed to truly begin a new chapter. The days that followed Ethan's visit were both challenging and empowering. With the help of Maya and Olivia, I started to piece my life back together. Maya's unwavering kindness and Olivia's steady friendship became the foundation of my new normal. Their support reminded me that I wasn't alone, even as I navigated the difficult legal battle with Ethan's family. Olivia, in particular, became my confidant. One evening over dinner, she brought up an important question. "Clara, have you thought about what you want to do once the baby is born? I mean, long-term plans for you and your little one." The question gave me pause. I had been so consumed by the immediate challenges that I hadn't allowed myself to think about the future. "I want to focus on my baby, of course," I replied. "But eventually, I'd like to get back to work. I miss the independence and purpose it gave me." Olivia nodded thoughtfully. "That makes sense. It's important to have a plan, even if it's just a rough idea. Maya and I are here to help whenever you're ready." Her encouragement sparked something in me, a determination to rebuild not just for my baby, but for myself. I began imagining a future where I could balance motherhood with a fulfilling career, a future free of the toxicity that Ethan and his family had brought into my life. As I started making plans for my future, the situation with Ethan's father escalated. My lawyer kept me updated, and every conversation was a reminder of the fight I had ahead. Tom was relentless, trying to use old family traditions as leverage to claim rights over my child. But I stood firm. "This is my child," I told my lawyer. "No one else has the right to make decisions for us." With my legal team's guidance, I filed a restraining order against Tom, ensuring he couldn't interfere with my life or my baby's future. It was a small but significant victory, and it bolstered my confidence to keep fighting for what was right. Through it all, I began to feel a renewed sense of strength. My baby's arrival was drawing closer, and I wanted to create a stable and loving environment for her. The apartment Maya had offered me had become a sanctuary, and I was grateful every day for the chance to start over. The support from Olivia and Maya didn't waver. They were there for every step of the journey, whether it was helping me organize the nursery or simply listening when the stress became too much. Their belief in me became my anchor, helping me navigate the toughest days. As the legal battles with Ethan and his family continued, I stood my ground. Each passing day made me more confident that I could face whatever challenges came next. The day I had been waiting for finally arrived. After months of turmoil and preparation, it was time to meet my baby. The days leading up to the delivery were a whirlwind of anticipation. Maya insisted on accompanying me to the hospital, while Olivia stayed back to make sure everything was ready for when I brought my little one home. As I was wheeled into the delivery room, Maya gave me a reassuring smile. "You've got this, Clara. We're all here for you," she said, her voice calm and steady. Her presence was a comforting reminder of the support I had found in this new chapter of my life. The labor was intense, but I held onto the thought of my baby. After hours of effort, the sound of her first cries filled the room. Tears streamed down my face as I held her for the first time. She was perfect, tiny, warm, and so full of life. I whispered a promise to her, "I'll protect you and give you the best life I can." When Maya and Olivia visited me in the hospital, their joy was palpable. "She's beautiful, Clara," Olivia said, her eyes misty with happiness. "You did an amazing job." For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The struggles I had endured seemed distant, overshadowed by the overwhelming love I felt for my daughter. This was the start of a new chapter, one that was full of hope. Settling into life with my baby was both exhausting and rewarding. Maya's apartment continued to be a safe haven, and Olivia frequently stopped by to help me with the baby. Their support made the sleepless nights and constant feedings more manageable. But Ethan wasn't done. A week after I returned home from the hospital, he showed up at the apartment again. This time, his face was gaunt, his eyes heavy with regret. "Clara, please," he began, his voice cracking. "I know I made mistakes. I wasn't there when you needed me, but I want to be a part of our daughter's life. I just need another chance." I stared at him, my emotions a mix of sadness and resolve. "Ethan, you had your chance," I said firmly. "You chose to criticize and neglect me when I needed you most. I can't forget that. I won't let my daughter grow up in an environment like that." His shoulders slumped, and for a moment, he looked as though he might argue. Instead, he nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "I understand. I just want her to know I care." We agreed on a visitation and child support arrangement that would allow him to be involved in our daughter's life without disrupting the stability I was building. It wasn't easy, but it was the right decision for her. With Ethan's chapter firmly closed, I began focusing on the next steps for me and my baby. Maya and Olivia continued to be my rocks, encouraging me to think about my long-term goals. "Take your time," Maya reminded me one evening as we sat together. "You've been through a lot, but when you're ready, you'll find your way back to doing what you love." Her words resonated deeply. I started making tentative plans to return to work, slowly envisioning a career that would give me the independence and stability I once cherished. The boutique industry, where I had thrived before, still called to me. It wouldn't happen overnight, but I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Looking back, the journey had been anything but easy. Ethan's actions had left scars, but they also taught me the importance of resilience and the power of support. My baby girl was my anchor, a constant reminder of why I'd fought so hard to create a better life. Maya and Olivia had become more than friends, they were family. Their unwavering belief in me gave me the strength to keep going, no matter how tough things got. Together, we had built a foundation of love and stability that I could rely on as I moved forward. As I watched my daughter sleep peacefully in her crib, I felt a sense of peace and determination. The hardships I had faced were part of my story, but they didn't define me. This was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope, strength, and endless possibilities for me and my daughter.